How do you know that God is asking you to do something? This is a question someone very close to me asked me, and I struggled for a moment with this one because I thought, well, how do I answer the question without sounding woo woo or crazy and in a way that makes sense? And so I think the only way to do it is to take you guys back in time and tell you how I got to be here and to share with you some of the inferences and lessons, realizations that came as a result of the process. So going back 7 years ago, I was working in banking and I was working at a particular bank that was just not right for me. It was a very toxic environment. There was so much work politics and so much going on in the place. And on top of that, I had been feeling for a while that I wasn't supposed to be there, that there was something else I needed to do with my life, but I just didn't know what. And so it got to the point where I just was sick and tired of the situation. I don't know if you've ever been in a place where you want a change, but you don't exactly know how to go about the change. So that was what it was like. And so I started to pray about that situation. And every day I'll take it to God and say, Lord, I know I need to leave this place, but I don't know how. And for many reasons, there were reasons why I couldn't leave the job and just say, oh, I quit. And we won't go into that today, but I just want you to understand it wasn't an option. So the more I prayed about it, the more I felt like God was saying, start going live on Facebook. At the time, Facebook had just introduced a live streaming. And it was still at that time where nobody really knew how to use live streaming. And please bear with me, 7 years ago was a time when Instagram and social media was new. I don't even think we had Instagram at the time. It was Facebook. And then the only other platform where you could live stream was on Twitch. So I felt like God was saying, start going live on Facebook. And I thought, what? Like, how in the name of anything is that the answer to the prayer I'm praying, like the request to save me from this place? So the first lesson or the first inference I would make is if God asks you to do something, most of the time it's going to sound very unlike anything that would have come from you. It doesn't sound like you at all. And it's probably the least thing you would do by yourself. And so for me, going live on Facebook was just the complete opposite of what I would ever have done. Because at the time, was, I had nothing to say. Anyway, the more I prayed about it, it became clear that, okay, I was supposed to go live on Facebook every week for an entire year. And so I struggled with it because here I was in a company that I hadn't been promoted, in a situation where I was embarrassed about because everyone around me loved what they did, or so they said. And here I was always saying, I don't like what I do. I'm looking for a way out, etc. So I struggled with that. So I think the second thing is you probably will struggle with whatever it is God is asking you to do. If it's so easy for you to jump at it and go do it, it probably may not be God, right? So for me, I had to then talk myself, encourage myself into actually going live. Now, the first time I went live on Facebook, it was a mess. I was actually at work and then I got this strong urge like, go live, go live. And so I went downstairs to one of the big meeting rooms. It was empty at the time. And I went into the meeting room, shut the door, and then I took out my phone and I went live on Facebook. Now, the moment I hit live, I panicked and I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? And so I ended the live stream. And then after that, I figured that people may have seen that. And don't worry, at that time, I wasn't savvy enough to know that I could delete that video and nobody would get to see it. But I didn't know. So instead, I was like, you cannot leave it on that note where you panicked and the whole world saw it. So I talked myself up and then I went live again for, I think I lasted like 5 minutes. And on that live, I don't remember what I said. I just knew I rambled on for 5 minutes and then I ended the live stream. So that brings me to the next point, that it's probably going to cause a little bit of confusion and disruption in your life. If what God is asking you to do doesn't cause a little bit of disruption, it probably is not God Himself. Because when I got home that day, I had my family on the phone waiting for me, like, what did you think you were doing? And so for a while after that, as I said, to go live every week on Facebook, regardless of how I was feeling or if I felt like I had anything to say, people would come up to me and say, what did you think you were, like, what do you think you're doing? I could see the confusion behind the questions, and they weren't trying to be rude. They just didn't understand the journey or the process or what I was trying to achieve. And the funny thing is, I had no clue what I was trying to achieve. I just knew God said, go live and start talking and share your story and just entertain and communicate with people. I didn't know what the big picture was or what the end mission was. I just knew I had to obey. And so if you are doing something that you believe God has asked you to do and there is disruption and confusion around it, it probably is from God. The next thing that I want to say is, when you start obeying, you're going to see things happening. And when I say things happening, like things that you probably weren't expecting, good things that you weren't expecting will start happening. I think for me, the moment I started to obey and I started going live, and please hear me when I say it was hard, the moment I obeyed and started to go live, things started to happen. For example, I remember there was someone at my workplace who was definitely senior to me, was a senior member of staff, calling me aside and saying, well done, I saw your live stream and I think it's a very brave thing you're doing, keep going. There were other things that started happening. And I think one of the key ones that stood out was around like 6 months into going live constantly every single week. I got a message from a lady somewhere in the Caribbean. Now, I've never met this woman. I have no clue who she is, even till today. But she sent me a lengthy message on Facebook Messenger at the time. And she said, thank you for putting out your live stream every week, because even though we're on different time zones, I always watch the replay after the fact. And you have blessed my life. Because of you, I was able to start a business. My husband, who was not open to it, has now come around, and she basically said she was now building financial independence on the back of joining my live streams every week. And the moment that lady sent the message, I felt a huge sense of relief, because finally my 6 months of creating live streams or of going live suddenly had a meaning. And soon after that lady's message, I started to get more messages from people in different parts of the world who were saying, thank you, I enjoy your live streams. You've touched my life. You've helped me break out of being stuck. You've helped me do different things. And so that's why I say, when God asks you to do something and you start to obey, you're going to see fruits. Things will start to happen. People will start to commend you. Some people will bless you randomly for nothing, for no reason. And one of such occasions was, I got an idea and I said, okay, now that people are watching, I'm going to host an event. And there was no money for it, let's be honest. But in the midst of that, people started to contribute, donate to the, without me asking, right? And so I think that was a major sign that what I was doing was the right thing. And it probably will be for you too. The final thing I want to say is when you start obeying, the vision is going to get larger and clearer. And that's how you know you are actually on the right path. If the more you obey, you get more confusion, then maybe pray about it a bit more. But for me, in my case, the more I started to obey, the more I felt like the vision was getting clearer. I was getting more ideas about what I was going to do. And it took time, but it got clearer. And so these are the 5 key ways that I believe you can easily identify if what you are hearing in your spirit is something that God actually wants you to do. I want to end today's video by saying I have met several highly talented people who keep doubting if this is something God wants them to do. You know, I heard that I'm supposed to build a business. I'm not sure if God wants me to actually do it or it's my heart or something. And there are 2 things that I use in testing. Number 1, if it is something good, if it is legal, if it's going to help people, if it's going to bring solutions and joy into someone else's life, then you can bet that it is good. It is something that God will want you to do. If, on the other hand, it's illegal or it's going to harm people, then you definitely know that it cannot be God. The second thing is that you will get confirmation from different places. It will feel like you're seeing signs everywhere. I think in my own instance, I started to see messages everywhere, randomly on social media, in books. People would just come up to me and say some weird things that when I think about, I'm like, oh, okay, I think that's the confirmation. So you're going to get confirmation, especially if you ask for it. You're going to get confirmation of things and just making you realize that, okay, this is God actually speaking to me in different ways about the same thing. I don't know if this video blesses somebody or helps somebody else to go and do the thing that God wants them to do, but I hope so. And so I'm signing out on this one. If it blessed you in any way, please do well to leave a comment down below. Let me know, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.